These are the men and women of Beaver Valley, the bravest of the brave. They fought fearlessly for their country, their city, their community, and for the ideals we share as Americans. They served proudly in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Here now are their stories, their own experiences in their own words, the words of the heroes of Beaver Valley.
Gino Piroli grew up in Aliquippa's Plan 2 neighborhood and graduated high school when he was 16 years old. Only a year before, in 1941, the Japanese had attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor.
In those days, and they still talk about it, when you went into a person's kitchen in those days, there was a picture of Jesus on the wall, and right next to the picture of Jesus was Franklin Roosevelt. That's how important he was to us. The war had seemed distant to us, but you never really thought that we were going to get into it. And so it was a surprise that day when you're sitting there in the living room hearing the announcement that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. My recollection of it is a Sunday afternoon in the living room, listening to the radio, our main source of entertainment, and to hear the news that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor and we were at war. And your first emotions are of anger. Those little runts and can't even make good toys. Why, it won't be 2 or 3 months and the war will be over. We'll finish them off. But it didn't work out that way, as we all know.
Aliquippa's J&L Steel saw an increase in production as World War II continued. Despite the attack at Pearl Harbor, life continued for Piroli and others.
It was funny, we used to have disaster drills. We had a civilian patrol, and they'd be blowing sirens, and you had to draw your curtains, and this was in the beginning part. After that, it sort of went down as the war went. It was rather a normal life. I worked in the mill, and we still had our dances and our girlfriends.
Piroli worked at J&L Steel until he was drafted when he was 18 years old in March 1944.
Humorous now when I look back at it, that my 2 brothers had gone, and when I was called to go, my mother said, "Can't they even leave me just one?" Maybe a day or so before you left, they had a big party for you. At the Union Hall had a large basement there. They had a going away party. They gave you Bibles and entertainment and food. And the day that you went, they had a parade. The high school band would come down and dignitary. They did this the whole 3 or 4 years of the draft. And they would take you to the train station. And it was like a little bit of a holiday until the train pulled in. Then everybody realized, this is for real. Some of these people might not come back.
He ended up joining the Navy, where he acted as a radio operator and would serve on the destroyer USS Irwin.
Didn't know how to swim, and I went to the Navy anyhow. And it was the best thing I ever did, because when we were in combat areas, I would think of those poor guys in trenches, and there we were in some danger on the ship, but you always got a hot meal. You took a shower every day. And those poor guys were in those trenches. I said, probably the best move I ever made. But involved in the invasions of Iwo Jima, Saipan, Tinian, Okinawa. The biggest thing for us was Okinawa. Greatest losses in naval history were at Okinawa because of the kamikazes. August 14th had a message: cease all offensive operations against the Japanese. And so we knew it was over then. So when the word came in that the war was over, we were still a little wary about it. And we took our destroyer, escorted the first troops and supplies into Tokyo Bay. And we went in about August the 24th. And we were in Tokyo Bay when the surrender was signed, September 2nd.
Today, Piroli thinks it's important to remember the attack at Pearl Harbor and educate those who are too young to remember it.
And if you notice today, it's hard to remind people that there was a Pearl Harbor. And the ones who were affected by it, most of them are gone. But I remember it. It changed our lives.